Prepare your final stop. Aleve will keep you moving. From sun up to sundown, Aleve's got your back this summer. Feel Aleve. Use as directed for minor aches and pains.
Here's your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update, sponsored by Chad and Sandy Real Estate. FSU head coach Mike Norvell on Monday revealed insight on the style of play for the Noles this season.
We want to be able to train to play as fast as anybody in the country.
Jumbo Shrimp hit the road for 6 with Memphis starting today. Johnny DeLuca's clutch 2-run single lifted the Rays to a 7-6 rally past Baltimore to dodge the sweep. At your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update, I'm Sam Nelson.
Currently 87 degrees at 10:03. Time and 10 brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still present, ready. Farah doesn't flinch.
When it comes to our edge, right? We're constantly trying to find our edge, right? And as we go into year 2, year 1, extremely important, right, guys, for setting the tone and establishing the way that we want to operate, the way that we want to play, and going through that. I think we did that.
He slipped and he fell down. Trevor fell down on the play. Now he's going to try and run it in. He did it in his own touchdown. Trevor ran it in. He ran it in. Touchdown.
There's no guaranteed success, but I do feel like this is sustainable. The things that we're doing, I know offensively and defensively, I mean, just both sides of the ball had a hell of a year when it got down to the end, where we finished and the growth that we had.
There is no year more important than year 2. There's no year. Because, man, let's be honest, there's been a lot of one-hit wonders. That's the reality.
Running room for Parker Washington, 45, 40, 30, along the right sideline. Parker Washington, he's going to bring it back. Parker Washington, touchdown Jacksonville. There are no flags.
They just go hop on the bandwagon right now. Everybody in this locker room on the Jaguars team, even upstairs, we know everybody probably going to try to hop on this bandwagon now, but we don't want anybody. They can stay where they at. It's us. It's all about the Jags.
Knocked down. Devon Hamilton knocked it down. It's no good. The Jaguars win it. The Jaguars win it. That ball is going to be knocked away. The Jags win it in overtime with another terrific defensive play. All these cardiac cats.
Everybody but us. Excuse my language, mama and dad, grandmama, but everybody but us.
What are we doing to separate ourselves so that we take the next step as a team?
Now, after that sack, Josh has set the franchise career record for sacks. Congratulations to Josh Hines Allen.
I can't really sit up here and say that, what our season's going to look like next year, but I can say that we got a team full of guys that's committed to each other. Obviously, the team's going to be a little different. You heard what Coach just said. It's a business at the end of the day. Some people are going to be here, some people are not. But the guys that step on this field, leading to OTAs, to training camp, to the first game of the season, to the last, those are guys we're going to ride with, and those opportunities we're going to try to develop and win.
We're trading up in the draft. We're moving from pick 5 to pick 2, and we're doing it because you're the one we've been hunting up.
Yes, sir. That's the best decision.
That ball's caught by Travis Hunter. He's into the end zone. Touchdown.
To be able to put it all together, I think it'll be fun.
Fires middle of the field. That was caught. 35, 30, 25, 20. Brian Thomas Jr. He hung on to that one. Fires middle of the field. That ball is going to be caught for the touchdown. Jacoby Myers. Along the left sideline. 50, 45, 30, 20, 10, 5. Touchdown. Touchdown. Touchdown.
We're going to bring you a product that you all can be proud of. And we are so appreciative of your support. With that, game on.
Now, Jaguars Today on 1010XL with Mike Dempsey, Fat Tony, and RJ Saunders.
Well, Mike Dempsey is down at the Miller Electric Center. He's got some kind of XM duties that I know he's filling in after training camp practice this morning, so he won't be joining us for the show, and I'm sure he wishes he was here to react to everything that's going on in the injury front, especially with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tony Smith, RJ Saunders here with you on Jaguars Today. Every time you play that open with the going the distance there in the background from Rocky, and I do think it's especially relevant with all the injury stuff that's going on right now. If anyone who knows that first Rocky movie well enough knows that song is the song that's playing during the fight at the end with Apollo Creed. And at the end of the 14th round, right, back in the day in the heavyweight fights, you went 15 rounds in the championship fight. So they get to the end of the 14th round, Rocky comes to the corner, and that's when he asks Mick to cut him, right? Like, that's the famous scene where there's a cut me, Mick, right? Like, that's that scene, and it feels like the and then you get if you stop this fight, I'll kill you, right? Like, you get that whole thing from Rocky. And look, the Jags are dealing with a bunch of injuries. They obviously have one offensive lineman that literally had to be cut somehow. Like, that's the idea of surgery, right, with Patrick Mekari, but we don't think it's anything that's going to threaten his entire season, but it feels like it's certainly going to threaten part of the 2026 season for Patrick Mekari. From what we understand, the team has not made a decision yet as to whether or not they'll be placing him on IR. Once they lock in the 53, it's expected that he'll be put on IR, is at least the way that it feels right now, though we have no, confirmation that that's the direction that they would go. If they do go that direction with it, he would be out for the first 4 weeks at least of the 2026 regular season when everything is said and done. But there's a bunch of kind of nagging stuff going on with the football team right now. We know LaQuinn Allen, it sounds like, picked up a soft tissue injury yesterday early on in practice, so he's going to be out for the rest of the preseason. For the football team, we know that Parker Washington is going to be out for the rest of this week. Wyatt Milam going to be out for the rest of this week dealing with whatever they're dealing with. The expectation is they'll be back on the field next week, but there is a pile of
Is it time to sound the alarm,
right
Tony?
No. I'm not the alarm sounder. If you're waiting for the alarm to be sounded, it won't be by me, right, when everything is said and done. But we'll certainly discuss it as we get into the show here this morning. The question of the day, brought to you by Chad and Sandy Real Estate, is in regard to Patrick Mekari with the back surgery, could be going to IR, all those kind of things. Just what is your reaction to what's going on with Patrick Mekari at this point in time? Maybe it's more of a Wyatt Milam reaction. Maybe it's a Pregnon reaction. Maybe it's, time for one of those guys to step. Whatever it happens to be, we'll discuss that as we go throughout the show this morning. We got a Hayes Carline coming up here in just a couple minutes. We got Jeff Lageman that's going to join me in the first hour as well. I was going to do a bunch of tape checking with him. We may have other things on our mind by the time we actually get to it here at the bottom of the hour. But as always, RJ, you can listen to the show in a bunch of different places. You can hear the show on X, on Facebook, on YouTube, on the streaming apps, FM and AM, or even on, the old-fashioned radio. You can catch us still when you're hanging out here for the show. Like I said, we will talk to Hayes Carline, who is down there at practice being handed injury reports as they walk into the building this morning. Not really. They're just asking questions around why isn't this guy dressed out today? Like, they were just in shells today, so they were asking questions. They got some of the answers. We've passed along what we've been given from down there at Jaguars training camp to this point. We'll obviously be reacting to that all day on the show. If you want to join us for that, 641-1010. Again, a couple of guests here in the next couple of segments, so it may be a little while before we get out to the phone lines, but we will go to the phone lines if you want to join the show. That way, obviously, you can find us on social media as well. I'm at 1010XL Fat Tony, at R has no J. And with that, let's really get it rolling. Hayes Carline will join us next from down there at Jaguars training camp as we, what is this, day 13, I think, on the field for the football team, something like that, at Jaguars training camp. We know Carolina's coming into town tomorrow for a joint practice, so who's going to be practicing against Carolina tomorrow? We'll talk a little bit about that as we get things rolling here on Tuesday edition of Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Hey, everybody, Mike Dempsey here. Listen, on September 2nd, DraftKings Game Day arrives with massive deals, exclusive deals, and an all-day celebration for sports fans. The DraftKings Sports app is now live in all 50 states, including right here in Florida. DraftKings Game Day is the kickoff of a new season, a new era, in fact. Remember the date, September 2nd. New DraftKings customers sign up with code 1010XL, spend $5 to get $150 in new rewards within 14 days. That's code 1010XL in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours. Event trading offered by DraftKings Predictions, a CFTC registered introducing broker. Trading involves risk of loss. Market availability varies. Eligibility restrictions apply. $50 every 7 days via click-to-claim, issued in non-withdrawable predictions dollars that expire in 1 year. Ends August 23rd. Terms dkng.co/predictions promo. Nationwide based on sportsbook predictions and free-to-play sports contest availability varies by state.
Jaguars today.
For the renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios. 1010XL.
I guess they just don't make them like they used to, huh? No! Nobody ever made them like this.
This is 1010XL.
This is it. This is definitely it.
There's a difference between serving a crowd and cooking for one person. Buffets are about volume, grab it and go. But made to order, that's attention. And in injury law, it shows. Because when you've been hurt in a crash, you shouldn't feel like you're just moving through an assembly line. At Fair and Fair, you're not just another file. We take the time, we walk you through it, and we build your case from scratch. Fair and Fair, still cooking.
Jacksonville.
Looking for something different this weekend? Experience the 23rd Annual Jacksonville Tattoo Convention. Meet hundreds of talented tattoo artists, discover one-of-a-kind vendors and artisans, and explore the collector's alley packed with Pokemon, trading cards, sports memorabilia, comics, toys, collectibles. Bring the whole family, enjoy free parking, and take in a beautiful venue. Renaissance Resort at World Golf Village. Tickets are available at the door. For event details, schedules, and everything you need to know, visit setattoo.com.
Throw your rifle and rod in the truck every Saturday morning.
This could be really special.
Go hunting and fishing with Jeff Lageman, Captain Kevin Favor, and Captain Kirk Walls on the Nimnit Outdoors Show. Saturday mornings from 7 to 10 on 1010XL.
If you've been in an auto accident, you can count on the experts at San Jose Collision to return your vehicle to pre-accident conditions. San Jose Collision can also provide a fresh paint job to freshen up your vehicle or completely change its appearance. They can paint and repair all foreign and domestic cars and trucks. When quality and professionalism are important to you, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
Hi, Frank Frangie here, inviting you to join my wife and me June 22nd of 2027 as we experience the food, wine, and culture of iconic Italy with Colette. Our journey takes us to historic cities and enchanting medieval towns. We'll enjoy a wonderful 7-night stay in the Montecatini Term A famous resort and spa town nestled in the heart of the rolling hills of Tuscany. Visit the cultural treasures of Florence, Pisa, and lovely Lucca. Along the way, we'll discover the food, wine, and old world charm, and even have a special chef-led cooking class. This and so much more. Colette handles the details, flights, hotels, meals, and the local experiences. Your only job is to have the time of your life. Don't miss joining my wife and me in Italy. Now, to learn more, visit 1010XL.com or call Colette at 800-581-8942.
Come away with me.
That's 1010XL.com or call Colette at 800-581-8942.
This is Hayes Carlion for First Florida Credit Union. I went to the branch on 210 to get my car loan and had a fantastic experience. I got a great rate and was in and out. The online banking services are also outstanding. Depositing checks through the mobile app is fast and efficient. First Florida Credit Union was voted Best Credit Union in the Best of Bold City Community Choice Awards for 3 years running, and it's easy to see why. You need to be banking with First Florida Credit Union. They're enriching people every day. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity Lender.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farah doesn't flinch. Here's another call on the 1010XL hotline, driven by Key Buick GMC, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
You can't touch this. Touch this.
Everything you need to know about the Jaguars today on 1010XL.
Oh, Hayes, that feels like a heavy topic this morning. Everything we need to know about the Jags. There's a bunch of injuries we're watching them work through right now that leaves a lot more questions than answers as far as where these guys are going to be. What's it look like from down there field level this morning at Jaguars training camp?
Yeah, it's concerning. I mean, they've gotten to a point now where, particularly along the offensive line, that it makes you wonder if they'll have to adjust the plan for tomorrow in the joint practice against the Panthers. But we'll see. But yeah, it's you're in the dog days, and they're starting to mount in terms of the attrition, particularly at the offensive line position.
Yeah, last year, so much of our response to what was going on with the Jaguars' offensive line came from just them not having named who the five were going to be. They were rotating guys around a lot, as we saw to this point in camp last year as well. This year, it's more not knowing who's going to be available to play due to the kind of nagging injuries they have. We know the Mekari thing breaks yesterday, so he's not going to be available to start the season for him. So trying to work through the injuries they're dealing with in that group right now. What is the proper level of concern along the offensive line as we are just a few weeks away from the Cleveland game?
I think it's quite high because you just don't know when they're going to have. Well, they're not going to have the original five back because Mekari, I would think, is going to miss time. We'll see. You still don't know about Van Lanen, and it's getting a little late. If he returns in the next week or so, he could be up to speed by week 1, but you don't really want him, taking his first practice Wednesday of the Cleveland game. So, the whole right side of the line is in flux. You've got, Anton Harrison, Ezra Cleveland, who have, I'd say, been kind of up and down from what you hear in terms of how it went in New Orleans. And so, yeah, and Robert Hainsey is a good leader, but, he's just sort of, this is probably his last year here. And so I think it's incredibly concerning. Wyatt Milam, I think, has had more of a down camp than an up camp. Pregnon looks good. He's the bright spot. But yeah, I'd say right now it's scale of 1 to 10. I'd put it at a strong 8.
Yeah, I think, if we had been asked these kind of questions a few weeks ago, I don't think any of us would be surprised if the Jags went the direction of the starters on offense, specifically not playing at all in the preseason. Now, Coach said what he said yesterday about those guys. They're seriously considering giving them some looks this week against Carolina on Friday night. With everything else that's going on with the team, do you think Trevor should play on Friday against the Carolina Panthers?
I don't, but I'm not a big believer in playing your franchise quarterback anyway in a preseason game. Now, obviously, we've seen Joe Burrow and Josh Allen and Jordan Love, already compete in the preseason. So, obviously, the coaches around the league want to get their guys out there for a little bit. To me, it always comes back to what can be gained. What is Trevor Lawrence really going to get out of playing 10 snaps or however many it's going to be? It's certainly not going to be more than, 15. What does he really get out of that? I mean, how does that really help him get ready for the regular season? Maybe it does. Maybe it's invaluable. I don't see that. But what I do see is if his knee gets caved in, your season's over. So to me, it's just, I get it, it's 1 in 100, but I just wouldn't risk it. At this stage of what, it's the second year of the offense. The offensive line is in major flux. And I just would not want to put him out there and put him in that danger. To me, it's, why would I risk my season on something where I think the gain would be minimal at best? But again, it's, it seems like the majority of teams are going to play their starting quarterback at some point in the preseason. But if it were me, I'm not a football coach, but if it was me, the risk is just too strong.
And along those kind of lines, Hayes, what should be taken away from the Jaguars' trip to New Orleans between the joint practice last Thursday and the game on Saturday? Like, what actually should be taken away from that experience?
I would say, I do think that really, I think Liam Cohen kind of showed why he's such a rising star in the profession, because obviously in the first half, I didn't see the joint practice. We didn't go to New Orleans. So I'd be hesitant to comment on anything that happened in the joint practice. But in terms of the game, they obviously got just destroyed in the second quarter, really the whole first half, but particularly the second quarter, where the offensive line didn't even look functional when it came to pass protection. And so, Liam was like, all right, you guys got embarrassed in the first half. So now we're just going to turn it into a good old-fashioned street fight, and we're going to run the ball at you 70% of the snaps in the third quarter, which is what they did, and it worked. And, they established the ground game, and it was very effective, and they were able to, end up getting the win at the end. Not that that means anything, but I think it showed to me strong coaching that they were able to kind of regroup, and Liam was like, all right, obviously we can't pass protect at all right now with this lineup. So let's just come off the ball and hit these guys and shorten the game and get out of here. But it was effective. So, I thought it was some coaches might have been stubborn and said, no, we want to make sure that we get these, this sort of, the pass reps in. So we're going to stick with it. But none of the quarterbacks, Mullins, Bradley, they didn't have a chance. So it made sense just to say, hey, let's just go run heavy. And, and I thought it illustrated why I think Liam Cohen, even in a preseason game, can show why he's so good at what he does.
Do you think there should be an open competition for who the backup quarterback should be among the guys on the roster right now?
They probably just need to go get a different guy. If they can do it with a reasonable level of, commitment. Obviously you're not talking about, ideally you don't want to do it with even a 7th round draft pick, but I don't think they'll open it up to competition. I think they're pretty set with Mullins. I haven't seen anything. Mullins has been kind of limited since the game, but you haven't really gotten any indication that his job is in any sort of danger. So, I'm sure they'll see what's available and, in terms of once cuts are made, but I would think it's going to be Nick Mullins. And then if something does happen to Trevor during the regular season, then I think that's when you start working the phones and seeing if Tua is available, if Penix is back in action, or if Mendoza is taking over for Cousins, can you get Cousins, something to that effect. But I would still think if it's just Trevor's down for a couple of weeks with a ankle sprain, I would think they'd still just go with Mullins for 2 games and hope they can get a split.
Thanks for joining us here for a few minutes, Hayes. One more here with you. What are you looking to see when the Panthers show up here tomorrow for the joint practice?
Really just, you hope they just stay healthy. At this point, I'm not really expecting any sort of, offensive dominance. They're not going to have Parker Washington. The offensive line is a mess right now. So, you'd like to see, probably Travis Hunter do some good things and Brian Thomas Jr. and Jacoby Myers. I will say I'm really surprised at how absent the tight ends have been in the passing game. And I know that's not going to, be the case once we get to the regular season. So I keep waiting to see Brenton Strange have a day where he catches 4 or 5 passes in 11 on 11. And, and maybe you hear something out of Borkircher or Koziel, something like that. Haven't really seen that. So maybe it'll be the Brenton Strange show, because it feels like he's kind of due. We know he's a great player. We know they have full confidence in him, but he really hasn't gotten targeted much in training camp. So, that could be something that we see. And then I think, you're hoping that they'll be able to get pressure, on Bryce Young. So, obviously Hines Allen, Trayvon Walker, I think it's always fun to watch those guys. And the run defense, I will say I was impressed with in the New Orleans game when the Saints had short yardage situations on the ground. The Jaguars stuffed them. So continue to watch that as well.
What do you got coming up this afternoon on the Frangie Show?
I'm scheduled to talk to Eric Murray after practice, so we'll look forward to playing that interview.
No doubt. All right, Hayes, appreciate a few minutes of your time this morning, and get back home healthy, buddy.
All right, thanks so much, Tony.
All right, Hayes Carline out there at Jaguars practice. When we return, Jeff Lagerman will join me, and we'll check the tape a little bit and react to everything that's happening with the Jacksonville Jaguars as well, with all the injury news piling up around this football team before the 2026 season gets underway. Still about 3-4 weeks away from that happening, but it's all happening right now down there at Jaguars training camp, so we'll continue to react to that. Logs will join me next as we continue along on a Tuesday edition of Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Hi, everybody. Mike Dempsey here for Dandy Foods. What great friends I have over there. The Thompsons started Dandy way back in 1956, 70 years ago. Heck, you should all consider them friends because they don't settle for just good enough. Dandy's a local company created by the Thompsons that keeps putting out the highest quality food on the go you're going to find anywhere in Duval County or beyond. So swing into an area dailies, head right to the fresh case, and be amazed at the variety. Usually over 35 different types of Dandy products right there for you for your viewing and dining pleasure. Quick pick-me-ups on the go like protein packs, veggie trays, and fruit cups. Of course, the classic line of sandwiches and subs. I'm partial to the tuna salad. Find your own favorite. They got plenty to choose from, a full breakfast menu, and a lot more. If you're thinking about food as you're driving around Duval, Dandy is the name to think about. They're the name to know, and they've been doing it with the highest quality for the last 70 years. When you're hungry, Duval, do what I do. Go out and make yours a Dandy, and do it today.
Jaguars
Today.
From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL. Live streaming from the XL Digital Studios. Brightened by Harbor Dental Care, Jacksonville's first choice for dental emergencies.
If you're getting estimates for replacement windows, do yourself a favor. Get one more. Prosser here. I did, and I was blown away. Cash Building Materials' local team is so experienced, and they know exactly what works for Jacksonville homes at a surprising price. You owe it to yourself to see what they can do before making a decision. Before you buy windows or doors, get a cash quote. Search Cash Building Material. Cash Building Material. Windows and doors done right.
25 weeks comes down to this.
You ready?
3 wide under the lights. 0 margin for error. Everything on the line. Flirting with 200 miles per hour in the place where this journey began. Race 26, the final hunt for a spot in the chase. The Coke Zero Sugar 400 weekend at Daytona, August 28th through 29th. Get your tickets now at DaytonaInternationalSpeedway.com.
Hey Duval fans, Jeff Lageman here. To win on game day, our team needs a flawless playbook and elite execution, and your vehicle is no different. From routine maintenance and brakes to engine and transmission work, team up with one of 30 local Jacksonville Napa Auto Care Centers. Most repairs are backed by a 24-month, 24,000-mile nationwide peace of mind warranty.
Score big. Drive into Sandalwood Auto Care on Atlantic Boulevard or Truth Auto Repair on Phillips Highway today.
This football season, stop tailgating in a parking lot. Upgrade to your own private rail car at River City Railway. Entertain clients, party with friends, or create unforgettable family traditions. And River City Railway is just steps from the stadium. Full-size rail cars with AC, flat-screen TVs, private restrooms, outdoor entertaining spaces, and parking passes. Everything you need for the perfect game day. Visit rivercityrailway.com and reserve your rail car before they're gone.
Attention skilled electricians. Are you undervalued at your current company? Time to step up to the bigger projects and better opportunities. Join the team at Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering not just the job, but an experienced, top-notch pay, unbeatable benefits, and the best working environments in the business. Please join the team that values your skills and rewards your hard work. Elevate your career to new heights. Apply today at millercareers.com, an equal opportunity employer.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville. And when warm weather is here, we got to take advantage of it, Greg. What does Honda have, especially for beach weather?
It's riding season. Full line of small motorcycles, scooters, you name it, they've got it. We also have a full line of Vespa scooters in stock and ready to ride to the beach today.
If you log on cyclesofjacksonville.com, they've got it all?
Got it all. Cyclesofjacksonville.com. Come and see us there or on the showroom.
Atlantic and Regency, check out Cycles of Jacksonville.
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation? From a real person? Good luck. That is what's so nice about Mike Merritt's Heating and Air. Unlike publicly traded conglomerates with headquarters in faraway cities, Mike Merritt's Heating and Air remains family-owned and operated by Mike, your neighbor. Mike Merritt has delivered hometown service, integrity, and pricing for generations. The big guys incentivize their techs to sell you new equipment. Mike's team emphasizes repair first. We only sell you equipment if your current equipment is worn out and beyond repair. And let's be honest about price. Small operations without much overhead can sometimes lowball your job, but you can't trust just anyone with a truck. They may be here today and gone tomorrow. Mike Merritt has been keeping North Florida cool for more than 3 decades. That's experience and dedication you can count on. Call today or see us on the web.
Florida license number CAC 050384.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Focused, fueled, fearless, Farah. Everything you need to know about the Jags. Jaguars today on 1010XL.
All right, rolling along here on Jaguars today. Still efforting getting logs on for a few minutes here this morning to take a look at what's going on. You know, like logs, I'm interested to ask him about how different is the injury situation for the Jaguars this year compared to most years to this point in training camp, right? Like I don't know the answer to that. I know I mentioned it during crosstalk this morning too with the boys on the drill, right? Like the idea of I wish today more than most days that I was a guy who kept the journal going so that I could go back and see in previous years how serious the injury stuff was. For the football team, is this year actually an exception or not? In that regard, I think it's hard to tell. You know, as we're just kind of going through it in the moment, it'll be whatever it's going to wind up being. I do kind of land. This is me. I'm not asking you to land here with me, but this is where I land with it. And I don't think Hayes was unfair necessarily with the way that he kind of described where he is with the situation, especially along the offensive line. I get it. Like, you can look at it and see it, that it's obviously not ideal for them to be in the spot that they're in at this point in time. I do ultimately land on, do we know who they're going to be missing against Cleveland? Right? Like, that's still where I land for the most part with it, is that the Ozone has been pretty confident, and every time that I've heard him talk about it, that Van Lanen's going to be available for week 1, right? Like, that's the way that he's talked about it. That's not the team saying it. That's Ozone saying it and saying that he's not sure, but that's what his gut is telling him, that Cole Van Lanen's going to be available for week 1 for the football team. So if they're dealing with the injuries they're dealing with right now, in my mind, that means they're not going to have Mekari. Like, I can't imagine that he's going to be available week 1 for the football team with what they're dealing with right now. So that would be one change there. But that was the hottest seat, even in the conversations 2.5 months ago when we started all this stuff. Like, Mekari was the guy that everyone thought, well, maybe they just move on from him at some point this offseason anyway. I always thought that was a little bit nuts given where they were on the offensive line. So I never, added too much oxygen to that particular fire with the roster decisions that the Jaguars were going to have to make. But I could understand people talking about it. And then you go into camp and he's not available early on, dealing with a back injury. We saw him last season. He was dealing with something going on with his back on and off again throughout his entire first season here in Jacksonville. I think the bigger issue to me is you hear the conversation there about Wyatt Milam, and Hayes specifically saying he hasn't really stood out, right? To this point, it can't. If there's disappointment, it's there, right? Like, if there's a level of disappointment for me with where the offensive line is right now, it's that with everything else, all the moving pieces and parts, and they're not a team that's been afraid to kind of move guys around in that regard, that we're this deep into this preseason and we know we're not going to see Milam for the rest of this week. He's not going to be available for the joint practice tomorrow against Carolina. I can't imagine he's going to play on Friday if he's not practicing tomorrow, but I suppose there's still the possibility of that with Fridays. So you don't want to rule these guys out until the coach rules them out, right? Like, and they don't even have to give you an injury report right now. We can ask, what's going on with the guy, and you're going to get the kind of answers I saw. Todd Bowles yesterday was asked about the couple of wide receivers, including Emeka Egbuka, who's dealing with the toe injury that he picked up last week. And they asked, what's going on with him? Like, when do you expect him to be back? And he goes, day to day, week to week. And it's like, well, so nothing, right? Like, you give us nothing in that regard. And this time of year, I'm completely okay with NFL coaches giving you nothing. They don't have to. Week 1, they got to let you know this is why he's on the injury report.
Right.
Is this injury, but they don't have to do that until we get to a regular season kind of schedule. You can hold all the cards, guys. Like, I really am not bothered by any of that. It is kind of funny watching people react to the little breadcrumbs we're given,
absolutely,
along the way. It's
we're in the heart of Jags season now.
Yeah,
it's still a couple of weeks away from week 1.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Right.
Like, it's not a Jacksonville thing to deal with that kind of stuff. And I do, for me, and I know Dempsey and I have been having this conversation for a while now, right, about what's going on in the offensive line. It's just not my nature to freak out about anything. Like, it's just not how I'm built. So me, I more look at it and say, well, I'll wait to see who's going to be available against Cleveland. By the way, that doesn't mean I'm right not to freak out.
Right.
Like, I'm not claiming that, well, I got to figure it out, and all you freaking out idiots, y'all got to.
wrong.
Right. Like, y'all just don't understand. Take a chill pill. Like, I'm not doing that kind of thing. It's like, freak out as much as you want. Like, I'm not saying that it's not worth freaking out about what's going on in the offensive line and protecting Trevor Lawrence and all those kind of things. I'm saying I'm going to save my worry for that kind of thing until who's the 5 against Cleveland? Right? Like, that's when I'll express any kind of real concern for what's going on in that direction. It's not going to happen for me before week 2 of the NFL preseason. It's just, that's not how I'm wired.
Now, if I could ask you this question, when you talk about the ozone, John Oehser talking about Van Lanen potentially being ready for week 1, would that give you, I know you're not the type of guy to freak out, but would that give you more of a sigh of relief about the offensive line because you have one of your mainstays and a guy that you've invested in heavily coming back to the offensive line and being there? Maybe you don't have questions now about the tackles. Maybe you try Pregnon out there at one of the guard spots. Ezra's at another guard spot. Does it kind of give you just a sigh of relief if Van Lanen's ready to go week 1?
Not necessarily. It's when is he back on the field?
Okay.
Right? Like, if they don't clear him for football activities until 3 days before the Cleveland game, I'm going to be like,
he's not playing.
Well, if he does play, what are we getting?
Right.
Right? Like, I would like for it to happen today. Like, that's obviously not the way that it's going to play out necessarily with Van Lanen, and they know what's going on with him way more than I do. From that kind of regard, I do think it's important for football players to play football before they have to be in the middle of it, right? Like, it's the Josh Hines-Allen thing where he's willing to say, I'm not ready. Like, not playing last week against New Orleans. He's like, no, I'm not ready, for a football game yet. It's crazy to think that an NFL training camp and the way that teams handle an NFL preseason now can get anyone ready to play a full NFL game. Like, it's wild that the Jaguars have a guy that even is going to attempt to play on offense and defense, right? Like, I saw some of the stats, like, during the New Orleans game, the Jaguars TV broadcast with Sexton and Bucky, and they put up the stat that he was the only player in the NFL last year that had 4 games where he had 75 or more snaps. The only one, right? Like,
that was an interesting stat.
Right, like, it's that kind of thing that Travis Hunter could be doing that every week, right? And how do you get that guy ready, for that level of this is how much we need to put on his plate, week to week? And the idea of trying to get that guy ready on a team where it's like, how do you get guys ready for the fourth quarter of an NFL game in a training camp and NFL preseason?
Right, how do you simulate that?
Right? They're not playing enough to know until they're in it.
And I think that's what probably Hayes was alluding to, even when he said, I don't know what 10 or 12 snaps is going to do for not only Trevor Lawrence. I know he named him, but I think even like just the first string. I mean, really, what's to gain there? Because I don't know if it's going to simulate what they're honestly going to be seeing once we get to week 1 against Cleveland and down the line and towards really the meat of the regular season. As much as I do understand that, I would still love to see them at least play a series. I know they want to play against somebody who isn't them, and I think they would love the benefit of that. I mean, I'm sure they're saying, listen, we've gone against one another all these weeks. Now we're getting into a period of this training camp where we're able to go against somebody else. Maybe that can help them, but at the same time, I'm also looking at it. When you look at a guy such as Josh Hines-Allen, he's saying, I'm not ready yet. It just seems to me that, a lot of these guys are probably still trying to just, not Josh Hines-Allen in his case, but maybe there are some guys still there that's trying to get in football shape, trying to get in football, game ready, week 1 ready. Maybe you consider bubble wrapping these guys, because that's the second question that I had for you. I mean, with the injuries that are coming out now, are there any questions in which you have now going into the joint practice and into week 2 of preseason against Carolina that you didn't have last week when they were going toe-to-toe with the joint practice and the week 1 preseason game against New Orleans?
Not really. I think the offensive line is where the offensive line is. I wish Milam was out there, right, would be what I would say. I wish Milam was out there. I can understand already. I'm seeing on the text line, people are saying you have the starting 5, whatever they're going to be against Cleveland, available for the joint practices basically next week against the Bucs, right? Whatever you think the 5 is going to be, having them available next week would be nice. And in my head, I go, yeah, that would be awesome. Are they though? Right? Do you make a decision on who the starting 5 is against Cleveland based on who's available against Tampa next week, 2 weeks before the season starts? I don't know. Again, I think all those things are kind of up in the air, and we can continue to discuss them as we will throughout the rest of the show. Our question of the day, asking the Mekari question, what is your reaction to Mekari having the surgery and possibly needing to miss sometime in the regular season? We don't know what's going to happen with IR or how long he may be out by the time we get to it, but it certainly doesn't seem like he's going to be available against the Browns, right? It seems we can pretty confidently say that, but again, they haven't, said any of these things. We'll continue to discuss that as we continue along a Tuesday edition of Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Jaguars Today. You're at the home of the Jaguars in the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Door Studios. Superior products, exceptional service. Feel the roar of the Jaguars. Preseason tune-up number 2 brings the Jags back to the bank. The Carolina Panthers, Friday night at 7:30 on the home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. 1010XL.
Hey, Hicken here. I couldn't be any happier than to join the George Moore Chevrolet family. When I say family, I mean it. Visit their beautiful showroom today off Atlantic Boulevard. Find out exactly what I'm talking about. No pressure, just friendly help. And whether you want a car, a truck, SUV, electric, pre-owned, you name it, George Moore Chevrolet has it. And if you can't make it over to Atlantic Boulevard, no problem. MooreChevy.com is easy to navigate as any site you will try. It's never been more easy to use. George Moore Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Hey friends, Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. Have you ever stored a gallon of leftover paint, opened the can years later, and it's rusty, crusty, and unusable? Next time, secure the lid tightly to ensure no leaks and store the can upside down. Oxygen can't get to it, therefore no rust and no crust. If you'd like more tips or have a question about a project, we'd love to help. Go to performance-painting.com. Performance Painting. Prepare, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting. If you've got to have more Gators, get them anytime with the Gator Podcast Channel. Served up by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. Whenever you're ready, the Gator Podcast Channel is too. On the video and social channels of 1010XL.
Hey roofers, finish and close out jobs same day with PermitRockstar.com. Their full-service permitting platform helps contractors cut permitting delays by up to 80%. Stop waiting and start building with PermitRockstar.com.
Birthdays, anniversaries, and graduations happen year-round. That's why it's good to have Kuhn Flowers on hand to send that floral arrangement. With a simple click, call, or showroom visit. This is Hacker. Make Kuhn Flowers your go-to when you need to send your love.
It's back to school season. Get a brand new fence from Superior Fence and Rail. For a limited time, get free takedown and haul away of your old fence. A $500 value with your new fence purchase. Offer valid on residential projects of 100 plus linear feet. Call today or visit SuperiorFenceandRail.com. SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
When you're on the fence, about a fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Northeast Florida's highest-rated residential home electrical contractor is American Electrical, providing unsurpassed quality in Duval, St. Johns, Clay, and Nassau counties. No matter your electrical problem or project, large or small, American Electrical will get it done at a price that's right. High-quality electrician, that's who they are. Trust a company that's been on the First Coast for decades, proudly serving the community while being a big part of the community. Call American Electrical for all your electric needs at 737-7770. Wired right at a fair price.
Hey there, all you sports dads rocking the best dad bod possible. We love seeing you eat tacos by the handful, and we love it when you bring your kids here too. For years, Lucy claimed that her favorite thing on the menu was sopapillas, the big scoop ice cream. I know that's not a taco, but that never stopped her. I was shooting for Dad of the Year anyway, so I just let it happen. Taco Lou's a great place to bring the family. There's something for everyone, as long as it starts with a taco. And a margarita for mom is always a good thing. At Taco Lou in Jacksonville Beach.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still, present, ready. Farah doesn't flinch. Everything you need to know about the Jags. Jaguars today on 1010XL.
Trying to think of how I would relate this song to what's going on with the Jaguars. I can probably come up with a few things here, but we don't need to get all that philosophical, do we, here on a Tuesday, as we deal with what the Jaguars are dealing with. It feels like a bunch of minor injuries. Again, I wish I had a solid idea in my head of how different this is from just training camp. Kind of 3 weeks in, a bunch of guys that, we're holding them out for 3 or 4 days right now as they're dealing with whatever they're dealing with. A bunch of it does strike me as if there was a regular season game coming up on Sunday, I think a lot of these guys would show up on the injury report that would be released for the first time tomorrow, right? So Wednesday would be the first injury report of the week. Thursday, the second. Friday would be the official game designations, right? It's the regular tempo of an NFL week. I think a bunch of these guys would show up on the injury report for the first time tomorrow. They'd have to be listed as questionable. And coach, when he was asked about it afterwards, would say, look, we think they're going to play. Like, I get that sense with a bunch of the guys that we're talking about right now, not with all of them. Like LaQuinn Allen having to miss the rest of the preseason, that's a little bit more significant with a soft tissue injury. So we don't know what that's going to look like. And obviously, very much looking forward to hearing Coach, if he is asked about that today after practice and what he has to say or not say about that kind of thing. Again, they don't have to say anything. But it does feel to me like the Parker Washington one specifically, that feels like we'd have to put him on the injury report, but he's playing Sunday. Right? Like, that's the way that feels to me at this point in time in kind of that training camp kind of mode that we're still in right now. Obviously, the Mekari thing is not that. The Milam thing, I hope is that, but I can't be sure, right? They're saying that they expect him to be back out of practice next week. Again, that's the one that, of all of them, is probably the most bothersome to me because of what hasn't been said about him to this point in his second NFL training camp. I want him to win a job, right? And I think the Mekari situation opens up the opportunity for somebody to win a job. You want to know how veterans lose NFL jobs to injury? You want to know how it happens? Mekari needs surgery, and Wyatt Milam or Emmanuel Pregnon get put into the starting lineup, and they're kicking butt.
And that's the question that I had for you. Just how big of an opportunity is this for a guy like Pregnon? Because now Milam's out. You also have Mekari out. And you're going to have to now be of the assumption that Pregnon's going to get an opportunity now to be out there with the first stringers. And if he's able to, put out another great performance like he did in New Orleans, albeit against backup guys, but if he's able to do it against first string type of a talent, maybe he's a guy that's on the inside instead of a guy that's on the outside looking in.
Could be. And look, if the lights being on is what turns a guy on, right, so to speak, in this kind of mode as we're getting ready for the rookie season for Pregnon. Look, Pregnon's not a young guy, right? Like he's 4 months older than Anton Harrison, right? So he's not young. He's just inexperienced from an NFL perspective. So he's already got whatever the adult body of Emmanuel Pregnon is going to be. I think it's here. Right? Like, he may be able to hit the weight room a little bit more, but it's not like, he's only 21. We need to see him put on. Like, he's not that kind of guy. He's a veteran football player, not a veteran NFL player.
Right.
Right? It's the way that I look at him. So, with him, maybe I wasn't giving enough credit to the idea of he's too old for us to treat him like a rookie. Right? Like, it's a little bit beyond that. It just wasn't happening. It didn't feel like early on in camp, but the last week it's been hot, right? Like he's been good, and he was obviously good on Saturday against the New Orleans Saints. I think it'll be interesting for the joint practice tomorrow. Who are the 5 when they line it up tomorrow? We know that last week when they lined it up, it was the same way they lined it up on Saturday, right? By the time we got to the game on Thursday in the joint practice, they had Milam and Monheim. Right, Milam was right tackle, Monheim was right guard for them at that point. Well, we know Milam's not playing right guard tomorrow or right tackle tomorrow. Is Walker Little going to be back out there to play right tackle? We'll see. Does that mean that Pregnon, if he's going to start tomorrow, does that mean he's going to start at right guard and then probably again on Friday night? If that's the game. Like, I do think those kind of things are interesting at this point in time, and I got one on the text line. I don't disagree necessarily that said, Tony, respectfully, the time to freak out is, and it's capped, so I know he's yelling at me, is now. O-line needs to work as a cohesive unit. It isn't always one-on-one in the trench. True. They have to understand how the guy next to them passes off a block, stunt handling. They must work together, and they aren't getting that opportunity. Agreed. Like, I don't disagree with any of that kind of thing. That it doesn't rise to freak out for me.
But isn't this the reason why you have a guy such as Liam Cohen now trying to play mix and match with some of the offensive linemen, trying to get, listen, we may have to have you guys as the 5.
Well,
we want to cross-train this.
Well, and I think part of that speaks to it's for and against the point. Right? Like, if the whole thing was we need all 5 guys to be completely comfortable with how the other guy next to him is going to be doing something, it's like, then why move them? Right? Like, if that's the idea, we need the 5 to be in their spot and ready to handle that spot. If that's the idea, then why move them around? With that kind of thing, it's like, well, we need to cross-train them to do X, Y, and Z in case that, like, I do think that in my mind, what I see with them kind of moving guys around on the offensive line the way that you just pointed out there is the coaching staff thinks it's more important that they know what everyone can do before they decide this is it. This is the role we need you in right now. Like, they're not expressed concern with we need X in this hole right now. Makes me less nervous about it. That's not to make anyone else feel any differently than they do about it.
But I think it probably goes with the saying, like, if the captain of the ship isn't worried, then everybody else on the ship shouldn't be worried.
Well, that doesn't mean that the Titanic doesn't sink.
Right.
There is something to, I think it's okay to only be as concerned as the head coach. That doesn't mean the coach's level of concern is always correct.
Absolutely.
Like, he's doing the job and trying to handle the things that he can handle, in all these kind of situations. I'm all right with them moving all the guys around on the offensive line right now because that's what they were doing last year too. I do think it feels different this year because they're having to do a bunch of it because a bunch of guys are hurt and they're having to move guys around. So it's necessity this year. Last year it was like, this is what we do.
Yeah.
We're going to move a bunch of guys around. So maybe a bunch of the moving around this year is also just them going, yeah, this is what we do. We move a bunch of guys around on the offensive line. But all of us can see that they're dealing with a bunch of guys that are hurt at the same time. Like, it's not like we don't know that they're dealing with a bunch of injuries in that group. And what's that going to mean when we get to the season? And, like, it's why I asked Hayes about it. Like, me, I'm not putting Trevor Lawrence on the field on Friday. Not if I'm making the decision on whether or not he plays.
Personally, no.
My answer is no. But it does seem like the team is angling towards, yeah, we're going to get him some snaps on Friday. I'm like, okay. It's like, I know what it's going to feel like when they put him on the field for whatever snaps they put him on the field. Just get him off. That's all I'm going to be thinking. It's like, finish it. Done. One play, good enough. It's like, I don't even need him to sweat in pregame warming up. Like, I know he will because he's going to have to stand outside in Jacksonville.
Right.
But, you know, like that
but
kind of
if it's like first drive, it ends with a field goal. Okay, you guys are done.
Yeah. Like, what? It's obviously it's a point of contention right now, and I'm not saying that contention's stopping anytime soon. We don't even know what the severity of a bunch of these injuries are or when guys are going to be back on the field. It's open season for expressing concern about the offensive line, and that's a pretty serious spot to have concerns about.
If I could ask this, and I know we're pressed against it, but how much of now doing 12 and 13 personnel kind of puts a Band-Aid on this, I guess a little bit, because you're going to have guys such as Strange that can act, such as, you know, an extra blocker, an extra lineman there on the field. You're also going to have Nate Borkature. So maybe they're going to be able to at least stop the bleeding a little bit if you don't have your main five guys there, because you are using those guys that are tight ends and saying, hey, we kind of need you here to kind of give us some extra blocking, especially in pass and, you know, especially in pass pro.
I say let's talk about that a little bit when we get back. Like what the actual impact of trying to run more 12 and 13 personnel could potentially be for this football team on the field as we get into hour number 2 here on Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Hey everybody, Mike Dempsey here for DraftKings. On September 2nd, DraftKings Game Day arrives with massive deals, exclusive deals, and an all-day celebration for sports fans. The DraftKings Sports app is now live in all 50 states, including right here in Florida. DraftKings Game Day is the kickoff of a new season, a new era. Remember the date, September 2nd. New DraftKings customers sign up using code 1010XL. Spend $5 to get $150 in rewards within 14 days. That's code 1010XL. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Event trading offered by DraftKings Predictions, a CFTC-registered introducing broker. Trading involves risk of loss. Market availability varies. Eligibility restrictions apply. $50 every 7 days via click-to-claim issued in non-withdrawable predictions dollars that expire in 1 year. Ends August 23rd. Terms DKNG.co/predictions promo. Nationwide based on sportsbook predictions and free-to-play sports contest availability. Varies by state.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Jaguars Today.
From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL. You know Dan Hicken.
Rock and roll cowboy, that's what you called him?
And you know Jeff Prosser.
You're taller than I thought you'd be.
They are The Drill.
I always figured you'd have a second act. I did not imagine it would be this.
Mornings on 1010XL.
I've seen better actors in a puppet show.
When it comes to orthopedic care, experience matters, and teamwork matters even more. At Orthopedic Specialists of Jacksonville, our fellowship-trained specialists work together to treat a full range of conditions, from knees and shoulders to spine, sports injuries, and joint replacement. You'll be guided by the right specialist for your needs, with coordinated care and personalized treatment plans designed for better outcomes. Smarter care, faster access, trusted expertise. Orthopedic Specialists of Jacksonville.
Jeff Prosser here for Julington Creek Pest Control. Is your lawn struggling this summer? Brown spots, insects, weeds, lawn disease? They can quickly take over when your lawn isn't getting the right care. Julington Creek Pest Control provides a complete lawn care program featuring premium granular fertilizer, not cheap liquid shortcuts, plus general pest and termite protection. Give your lawn the care it deserves. Julington Creek Pest Control. Our family serving yours since 1984.
Come to Monahan Jewelers store-wide 40 to 50% off sale going on now for a very limited time. Everything on display is 40 to 50% off at Monahan Jewelers. We've bought so much brand new jewelry, we need to make room for it. Diamond jewelry, engagement semi-mounts, colored gemstones, even gold chains. Right now, everything on display at Monahan Jewelers is 40 to 50% off. Jewelry's going quick, so come to Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
You may not be able to control the air you breathe on the outside, but you certainly can on the inside of your home. Just call Florida Home AC and ask about the Remy Halo. It's the next generation of air quality technology. Call 777-4300 for Florida Home AC.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval Sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey, ham, melted cheddar, and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval Sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Joe C. for Blossman Gas. They've been providing hometown service and the comforts of propane to home and businesses since 1951. Imagine movie night spent around glowing gas fireplace logs, cookouts in the backyard with your propane grill, or laundry done faster with your gas dryer. Blossman has a wide variety of gas appliances to fit your needs. Propane delivery, gas appliances, and a full-service team. Blossman Gas is your local company for everything propane. Blossman Gas, log on, blossmangas.com, and check out the Blossman difference.
This is your 1010XL local sports update, sponsored by Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Class 3A football fires up August 21st across Jacksonville, with defending champ Reigns out front and 8 Northeast Florida teams lining up to chase the Vikings. UNF women's soccer hosts St. Leo today at Hodges Stadium. Big push from athletics as Osprey fans pack Corporate Traffic Field for opening week. That's your 1010XL local sports update. I'm Sam Nelson.
Right now, 89 degrees at 11:04. Time and Temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farah doesn't flinch. Everything you need to know about the Jaguars today on 1010XL.
All right. Trying to put together the puzzle pieces we have right on the offensive line for the football team as of now. I do think it's a bit of an eye-opener that the depth charts that the Jaguars have actually put out to this point have had Patrick Mekari as the starting right guard. Right, I know they released another one for the second week of the preseason yesterday. Nothing really changed on it of any kind of note, but they still had Mekari as the starting right guard with Milam behind him. And, you know, I think it speaks more to what they are or aren't seeing that they want to get out of Milam right to this point than anything else, because we know they've seen nothing from Patrick Mekari right to this point in training camp. Like, we know nothing has happened in that regard for the football team. It does sound like the Edoga thing wasn't serious, so that's good for the football team. You know, we were talking about the 12 and 13 personnel, and where I think the difference will be felt with that. I remain unconvinced that the idea from the team that was expressed and carried out was, you know, with the way that they handled the draft with Borkacher when they took him. Like, I don't care about the overreaching. Like, none of that bothers me all that much. If they like a guy, take a guy. And we'll see if you're right or wrong about it. You know, time will tell on that kind of thing. Are you right or wrong about the plan? Right? Like, from a broader point of view. And what I think their 12 personnel thing, especially with a guy like Borkacher, really does for him is when they want to go big, it means they don't have to put Edoga on the field. Right? Like, I think that's, as much as anything, what significantly changes for what they do. And I know I bring up this stat a lot, but a lot of people talk about the Jags trying to be the Rams, right? And playing that 12 and 13 personnel. Cut it out. Cut it out. You can go look at the numbers for the Rams. The Rams ran the 7th most plays from 11 personnel in the entire league last year. They're not a team that is just all 12 and 13 personnel. What they were was a team that when they wanted to go 12 and 13 personnel, they did it effectively. And the Jaguars wanted to bring in a guy like Borkacher so that they could be more effective running 12 personnel. It's not so that we can run as much 12 as these teams in the league. That's not the idea. The idea is when we go big, we want big to be good. Right? Like, that's the reason that they went the direction they did with the Borkacher thing. How much impact is that going to have catching the ball, at the tight end position? I think you can look at some of the Rams tight ends. It's not like a bunch of them were catching 30 passes. Like, that's not what they were looking for. Brenton Strange is going to be the guy, right? I think you can already see signs. I saw it because when I was watching the game on Saturday, for the snaps that I noticed that Borkacher was on the field, I just watched him, right? I don't even know where the ball went, for most of those plays till I rewound it and watched it again. I thought for what they brought him in to do, which is block, whether you like it or not, again, I can understand not agreeing with the idea of drafting a guy in the second round so that you can be a better blocking group at tight end, right? So that when we go big, we can move you around. I can understand seeing that even with it being enacted on the field and being like, right? Like, I get it. And I mostly meet you in that kind of response. But I watched him block on Saturday and I was like, yeah, I see it. Like, it's like, yeah, he moves people around. When he's blocking in the run game and passing, he moves people around. Like, he does do that kind of thing. And maybe it does free up Brenton Strange to do a little bit more in the offense, but we don't know. Like, I do think it's, as much as anything, it just means they don't have to put another offensive lineman on the field when they want to go big, because they felt that unsure about their tight end options, especially for the weeks that Brenton Strange wasn't available to them last year. They want to be more comfortable running those kind of things with the personnel they have. So they made the decisions they did. Like I said, I remain unconvinced that they're right, that it's the direction that they should have gone with any of this kind of stuff. Show it to me, right? And anyone who's been listening to the show, I've been on the Brenton Strange bandwagon for 3 years. I've wanted to see his role expanded every year since his rookie year, because every time I would watch him out there on the field, I'm like, man, he mangles guys. Like, it was so much fun to watch. I enjoy watching that kind of player, right? Like, it does. Like, I truly enjoy watching the kind of player that Brenton Strange is. So they bring in another guy like Borkacher who kind of does the same kind of thing. It's like, all right, let's see if they can just move people around. And it's at least of note that for a football team that spent the entire offseason talking about wanting to get better in the run game, the way they called and handled the second half against the Saints is notable for that reason, if nothing else. Right? They decided, we're going to run the ball. You're not stopping us. And they did. Right? And the Jaguars have not been a team that's been very effective in that kind of environment for a while. It's certainly weren't in the back half of the last season. They certainly weren't against the Bills in that playoff game, and it's why they talk about the stink being what it was. It's in the run game. Now, how much does a second half with 2s and 3s and 4s on the field for both teams actually mean for what's going to happen in 2026? Not much, but I think it does speak to their stated intention was something that they were willing to stay committed to in the moment there against the Saints, despite being down what they were down. To begin that second half. And it's why they eventually won the game, is because they could run the ball. And I do think that is certainly a path to them finding that 13 wins again, is can they run the ball effectively? Like, I think that's a good thing to have in their pocket. Now, Any questions that we all have about whether the offensive line is going to be good enough to allow that to happen? Fair.
Right.
Like, I think all that stuff is open right now, but I do think we all are a little misguided on what the more 12 and 13 personnel actually is for the Jags. I think it's just they wanted to feel better about that two. They just wanted to feel better about the second tight end they're putting on the field as opposed to, all right, let's put our eighth lineman on the field so that we can try to run the ball, and then we just slam our heads against a brick wall over and over and over when they would try to run the ball, especially in short yardage.
Now, when you talk about the offensive line, and I know a lot of it because I've heard you over the last couple of weeks where you're talking about Milam, and Milam has this opportunity to potentially win a starting job, but he hasn't flashed yet. What are you looking for when it comes to Wyatt Milam flashing to say, okay, without a doubt, this guy needs to be one of the starting guards on the field?
They'll know that better than I will. But I do think what's going to happen with the joint practices here the next couple weeks are indicative of how they're feeling about where these guys are right now, more specifically next week than tomorrow, right? If we get through this weekend, right, and they get through the Carolina game, they got the joint practice tomorrow, I assume that Pregnon's going to be starting somewhere on the offensive line for him tomorrow, I assume. I don't know that, but I assume that's the way that that's going to go. If Milam and Pregnon are back and available next week, and to some degree, Monheim and what they want to do with him, if all those guys are available next week, I think it's interesting to see, all right, who's the five? And where are they? Right? And in the practices against the Bucs, how much are we moving them around? Or does it feel like things are a little bit more settled as far as the direction they want to go? Like, I don't think it's crazy to have the idea of it would be nice if the last time that they were putting them on the field before the regular season that they have an idea of who the five is going to be against Cleveland. So let's get them on the field together if we can. Right? Like that makes sense to me, but that doesn't have to happen tomorrow. Like, that is a next week problem. Milam's supposed to be back on the field. Hopefully nobody else picks up anything over the next few days, with that kind of thing. But I do think next week is way more indicative of whatever their plan's going to be on the offensive line than anything that's going to happen over the next 3-4 days is going to be necessarily. Doesn't mean the work doesn't mean anything. It means something, right? And they're evaluating these guys all the time. I think it's a big 3-4 days here for Pregnon, right? With them being willing to move options around on the offensive line like they were willing to with, him staying out there and Ezra Cleveland being the guy that they move out the right tackle for a day yesterday with everything that's going. Like, I don't think that means nothing. That part of that is we move guys around, right? Like, part of it's that, but part of it's, all right, maybe we saw something for Pregnon. Do we need to find out everything that Ezra can give us? In all these different kind of spots. Whatever questions you have, yes. Like, I don't think any of them are unreasonable at this point in time about what they're doing on the offensive line.
Is it better now that they're having these injuries and going through this bug instead of, let's just say, like week 8 of the regular season?
For sure.
I mean, because, I see somebody, commenting saying that in order to win a Super Bowl, you have to be healthy. But, I would like to think that maybe you haven't finished that sentence. Like, you have to be healthy at the right time in order for you to win a Super Bowl. Now, a lot of other things have to go right, but if we're just talking about the health discussion, like, I think it's probably better now that you're going through this than when you're getting into, the back half of the regular season and seeding is now important and whether or not you're going to be hosting a playoff game and how do you look against the rest of the AFC? I think that we have to take that into account a lot as well. I mean, when it just comes to whether we should be freaking out more than maybe what we are right now.
Yeah, let's hear a little bit from Coach Cohen and what he had to say yesterday as we, get into the back half here of the second hour of the show. And look, it's, again, whatever questions you have about the offensive line, they're all fair, right? At this point in time, pretty much. Whatever level of anxiety it's making you feel as a Jaguars fan, I think that's fair. I'm not saying anything I'm saying to try to convince you that you're wrong about however you feel about the offensive line. I don't disagree that it's a major issue to this point, and I don't disagree that it would be nice if it was all solidified right now and everyone was healthy and they'd be better. Obviously, they'd be better if that was the case. It's not the case. The reality is They have to deal with what they have to deal with. It doesn't have to be a killer for the football team because, again, something that I've been trying to express, I don't think the difference between 1 and 2, basically any of these spots on the offensive line, is big enough that I freak out when the 1's out. Like, I'm just like, all right, next guy plays, is kind of how I'm feeling about it to this point. I would love for something to happen here over the next couple of weeks for me to say, now they can't be without this guy. Like, I would like to be 2 weeks from now sitting there going, you know what they need is Pregnon killing the way he's killing. Like, I would love to get to that point, but I don't feel that way about anybody basically on the offensive line right now, except a little bit with Anton. But even that, it's just like, he's good. Right? Like, that's pretty much how I feel about it. I don't think they got anything special anywhere on the offensive line at this point in time. It didn't bite them last year. It didn't bite them in 22 when it was the same kind of thing for the football team. It doesn't have to sink you for you to not feel like you got an all-star offensive line. It just don't let the offensive line be the reason the boat sinks is more the way that I feel about it. I think they're not any worse than they were last year in my mind right now, which is part of my lack of nerves when it comes to that stuff. Again, doesn't make me right. 26 is not 25, so they don't have to be equal just because I feel equal about it right now going into what they're going to be dealing with. We'll hear a little bit from Coach as we continue along. It's a Tuesday edition of Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Jaguars Today from the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios. At the end of the day, matriculate your way home with the Frangie Show.
What does that mean? It means buckle your seatbelt, Dorothy.
This isn't Kansas.
The great Oz has spoken.
Afternoons on 1010XL.
Your bathroom doesn't have to be completely remodeled to make a big difference. Sometimes all it takes is one easy upgrade, like a custom glass shower door from Capital Glass and Shower Doors. A new shower door can transform your bathroom with a clean, modern, completely new look. From the initial design through the final installation, Capital Glass delivers a high quality and a best-in-class experience. Stop by their new showroom in St. Augustine near the Outlet Mall or visit capcoglass.com. CAPCO glass.com.
Got a leaky faucet, a running toilet, a drain that's slowing down? If you've been meaning to call a plumber, now's the perfect time to call Duck Duck Rooter. Schedule any plumbing service during August, and while our technician is already at your home, we'll include a free water heater inspection. It's just one more way we deliver the Duck Duck standard. Honest recommendations, fair upfront pricing, and no surprises. If you're calling a plumber anyway, why not get a little bit more while we're there? When you're stuck, call the Duck. 904-862-6769 or duckduckrooter.com.
Fatten up this fall with a football feast for the fittest fan.
Are you cooking something?
First Coast Football Friday. High school, college, NFL. Woo! Built by Cash Building Material and the law offices of Jason K.S. Porter on 1010XL.
Hungry?
Attention men and women. If you'd like to get your hair back, then you need to listen to some of our clients. John in Orange Park.
IHRS showed me what was causing my hair loss and helped stop it.
Call IHRS now at 904-777-IHRS. Find out how to grow your hair back with a free hair and scalp examination. Diane from Ponte Vedra.
Now I have what lotions couldn't give me. Thick, beautiful hair.
Hurry and receive a free hair and scalp examination and get 2 weeks of laser treatments for free. Call IHRS at 904-777-4477. Hairforme.com.
Hi, folks. Frank Frangie for the farm at Okefenokee. My wife and I and a bunch of friends just got back from the farm, and we had an incredible experience. We toured the regenerative farm, as well as the beautiful handcrafted cabins, and were treated to a fantastic farm-to-table dinner created by Congreve and Penn. Man, was it good. Well, you can learn more at okefarm.com. That's okefarm.com. And even hear my interview with farm co-founder Doug Davis to learn even more about this amazing property. That's okefarm.com.
Call a timeout for the new Smoke and Honey Melts at Firehouse Subs. Choose flame-seared shaved steak or grilled chicken breast, peppers, caramelized onions, melted provolone, chipotle, honey dressing, and mayo. All on a toasted sub roll, only at Firehouse Subs.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwood. Underwood has completed 75 years in business, and now you are starting your next 75 years. If you were going to simplify things, what is the single most important thing in Underwood's history, and what will be the most important thing in your future?
Frank, that's simple. Our honesty and integrity. You know, our founder, H.F. Underwood's favorite saying was, know the truth and tell the truth. That's why we're the longest-standing member of the American Gem Society in Florida. because we know you have to have the knowledge about gemstones before you can tell the truth about them. That's why we continue to educate our staff through the Gemological Institute of America and the American Gem Society. In fact, today, Underwoods has the largest American Gem Society credentialed staff of professionals east of the Mississippi River. So come by and see why we're looking forward to the next 75 years and let one of our experts assist you.
That's at Underwoods, serving excellence since 1928. In San Marco, Avondale, the shops of Ponte Vedra, Underwood Jewelers.
Hello, this is Father Nicholas Lowe, and I want to talk to you about enjoying your life. So often we can go through life trying to make a living instead of making a life. Yes, it's good to be goal-oriented, but let me encourage you today that our days are numbered. We're not promised tomorrow, so go out and take time to be with your family. You'll always have your work, but you won't always have your family.
To hear more inspirational messages by Reverend Dr. Nicholas Lowe, please visit our website at stjohnthedivine.com.
A no-risk, all-rewards path to real weight loss? Awaken 180 is so confident in your success, if you're not happy with your results in the first week, get 100% of your money back. No risk, every reward. Awaken180weightloss.com.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Focused, fueled, fearless, Farah. Everything you need to know about the Jags. Jaguars today on 1010XL.
I just saw one on X from Mac up in Delaware who asked you and I, RJ. Morning, guys. With the injuries to the O-line, do you think the GM should look at some of the players that didn't make a team during final cuts? And my answer to that would be, have you looked at the players the Jags are going to have to cut on the offensive line? And do you think a big group of 32 teams with that group of guys is going to have a bunch of impact guys on your offensive line? Like, I get the idea, and it's not a terrible idea. It's just reality in the NFL is good offensive linemen are not going to get cut in a couple of weeks. If you want to improve the group that you have on the offensive line, you're going to have to make a trade. Somewhere's how that's going to happen, or the guys on your team have to be better. Like, that's just the stark reality of, I think there is some degree, RJ, of trust in the way that the Jaguars have handled business to this point, that if they recognize something happening on the offensive line being an issue that they cannot fix internally, like they just do not have the answers inside the building to do something about it, I think they'll do something to move something. I don't know what they'd have to give up to make it happen, but I trust them in the idea of if they needed to make a move, that they would make a move to keep the team afloat, at least on the offensive line, if they feel like they get to a point where that's going to be necessary. I don't think we're there yet.
Right.
But I think I trust those guys enough that if they get to that point, they'll make the move.
Now, we did see that last season. I mean, with defensive tackle. I mean, they end up acquiring Colin Saunders, albeit, he didn't play anything meaningful for the Jacksonville Jaguars. That was
more just letting go of a guy they were going to let go of anyway.
Yeah.
Now, maybe there's something with that. Like, maybe there is a guy on the roster that they know, well, he's not going to be on our 53. Right. So maybe you move one of those for something.
Right.
Here in a couple weeks when we get to cut down day, maybe that kind of thing is still a possibility. I don't think the Jaguars 53 is all that difficult to put together, at this point. So there's a bunch of guys that they already know, well, he's not going to be playing ball here. Maybe somebody likes him somewhere so that they can move him, potentially. But again, it's put yourself in the other team's shoes, right? With all this stuff, just put yourself in the other team's shoes. If you had an offensive lineman that you liked, what are you going to have to be offered at this point in the process to let him go? Who are you doing that with? You got one guy on the roster right now that maybe kind of fits that bill. Walker Little. What do you need to let him go?
Yeah, what's the price?
Right? It's not nothing.
Right.
You're not cutting him.
Nope.
You're going to get something back for him. So what are you willing to give up to get somebody else's Walker Little?
And it seems to me right now, with the injuries that you do have along the offensive line, he's made himself a much more valuable asset to you now than maybe what many individuals thought just a few weeks ago when we were hearing, hey, trade this guy, try to get some draft compensation, or, maybe get a player out of him, let's see it. I think, to me, Walker Little has now made himself at least a much more important piece as we still continue to wait to see, this offensive line, get on the upswing in terms of health here once we get towards the regular season.
No doubt. Let's hear a little bit from Coach Cohen talking about the offensive line. We'll start with cut 6 here, RJ, where he's talking about Emmanuel Pregnon and the kind of day that he had on Saturday. Again, I'm very curious to see how they want to use him here the next 3 days out there at practice going into the preseason game coming up against the Carolina Panthers. But Coach was asked about Emmanuel Pregnon and said, look, he looked at back of the tape and thought that he did some nice things against the Saints on Saturday.
Did some really nice things. Moved people in one-on-one situations, decleated a guy on a pull. Actually, on the interception, had an unbelievable block where he decleated a guy on a cleanup. He flashed. That was for sure. He flashed in the joint as well when he got some opportunities with the ones. And, he's just continuing. It's a process. It's not something that we're obviously trying to, push. It's just, hey, when the time comes, he'll be ready. And he's trying to work through that and the continuity with the group. And, you're not seeing as much as he's going to see, obviously, when we get going. So pumping the brakes a little on it, but just for what he was able to do and the ops that he had, we were pleased with him.
Yeah. They liked what they saw on Saturday, which would mean give him more. Right? Like, keep feeding it until you figure out exactly how much you can put on a guy's plate. How many times have we had those kind of discussions over the years? Like, from an NFL coaching standpoint, you give guys as much as you can give them so that you can figure out how much they can handle, right? And so if Pregnon's been able to handle what they put on his plate last week, well, it's like, this week we need you to, here's the second helping, right? Like, we need you to finish both plates, right? Like that kind of thing. It's a Thanksgiving challenge for Emmanuel Pregnon as he continues to try to develop and see what kind of role he can earn for this football team. But the week has been so positive for him that I hope the momentum continues going into the next few days out there, considering how little momentum I think we all feel for whatever's happening with Wyatt Milam at this point in the process. And I think there was a little bit of momentum for him, at some point last week when they were having the issues they were having. Walker Little gets hurt early in the scrimmage, and so they put him in at right tackle or at right tackle. They put him in. It's like, all right, that's cool. That they're willing to do that kind of thing with Monheim in their right guard. It does feel right now to me like Pregnon is probably starting somewhere on the offensive line against the Browns. It's the way it feels right now to me. But again, this is just a feeling, right? So how much do gut feelings matter at 11:30, 3 weeks before they play anything that matters? I don't know, but that's the gut feeling that I have right now for the football team. Got to take a look around the rest of the National Football League. We got the Golden Moment coming up as well. Maybe hear a comment or two from Travis Hunter, who spoke with the media yesterday as well. As we continue along, it's a Tuesday edition of Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Jaguars Today from the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL.
Brunell. Hi, I'm Mark Brunell. On the fade. Touchdown to Jimmy Smith.
You have found the best Jaguars coverage in Jacksonville on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative. What's better than beer? Cold beer. Put your company logo on a custom koozie. Check them out at hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
Hi, Frank Frangie here, inviting you to join my wife and me June 22nd of 2027 as we experience the food, wine, and culture of iconic Italy with Colette. Our journey takes us to historic cities and enchanting medieval towns. We'll enjoy a wonderful 7-night stay in the Montecatini Term A famous resort and spa town nestled in the heart of the rolling hills of Tuscany. Visit the cultural treasures of Florence, Pisa, and lovely Lucca. Along the way, we'll discover the food, wine, and old world charm, and even have a special chef-led cooking class. This and so much more. Colette handles the details, flights, hotels, meals, and the local experiences. Your only job is to have the time of your life. Don't miss joining my wife and me in Italy. Now, to learn more, visit 1010XL.com or call Colette at 800-581-8942.
Come away with me.
That's 1010XL.com or call Colette at 800-581-8942.
Hey, Dan Hicken with 1010XL. Keeping a great lawn shouldn't eat up your weekends. Let topdressing.com do the heavy lifting. Their team shows up, cores the yard, applies their proven organic biocompost, Top Dressing for long-lasting results. Stronger roots mean a healthier lawn with less work from you. It's simple, professional, and it works. Do like I did. Call 888-850-1850 or visit topdressing.com.
If your ride is making strange noises, don't wait and make it work. Come to Action Transmission on Merrill Road. My expert technicians can diagnose the problem and likely fix it fast. Experience the difference at Action Transmission on Merrill Road.
I'm Frank Frangie. I've lived here my whole life. I'm a Jacksonville guy through and through. So when I meet somebody who really knows this market, especially one this choppy, I trust it. Well, that's exactly what happened with Chad and Sandy. You need to sell now? Chad and Sandy have instant offers, fast, easy, stress-free. You need max price? Their science-based Market Max system is a proven, repeatable system guaranteed to sell your home for maximum price. Ask James and Sue in St. Augustine. Moving to Ocala for more space, they interviewed 3 other agents who didn't last 5 minutes. Chad and Sandy's team answered every question and made them feel like they mattered. Their home sold in 1 week, the highest price in the neighborhood. Chad and Sandy are the local real estate experts. Using their proprietary Market Max system, Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they'll buy it. No required repairs. Pick your own move date. No long-term contracts. Call Chad and Sandy, 904-414-6200, or go to chadandsandy.com.
Checkmate. I'm Brendan Cecilia, founder of Checkmate Coatings.
And I'm Chester, Checkmate chessman, and, you may be surprised, newfound fan of American football.
Really? You?
Absolutely. Listen to this. Duval!
It's Duval, Chester. Duval.
That's what I said. Duval!
Ball.
Ball. Ball. The point is, Brendan, with football season approaching and friends dropping by your house to watch the games, there's no better time to spiff up your garage with a beautiful, durable, polymer-coated floor.
We can even do it in team colors for the real fans out there.
Oh, that is a good idea.
A garage floor your friends will love?
Check. In a color that makes you proud?
Check. Installed by locals who can actually pronounce Duval?
Checkmate.
Transforming your floors, making them great. Checkmate.
Visit checkmatecoatings.com. That's checkmatecoatings.com.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still, present, ready. Farah doesn't flinch. Now, the Monahan's golden moment. Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach, your local family jewelers.
Today's golden moment, well, the problems of August 18th don't have to be the problems of September 13th, right? Like, we still got some time before they actually kick off the season here against the Cleveland Browns, so a lot of things could be sorted out and settled in the intervening time. But look, we all have our eyes on the things I think we should have our eyes on. The offensive line, it's certainly not intact right now. So what exactly is that going to mean in the end? It's hard to tell from this far out, but we got a little bit of time here. That doesn't mean that it's not coming. It is. The NFL regular season is not all that far away either. Let's take a quick look while we got a moment here around the rest of the National Football League.
Now, gems around the NFL. Brought to you by Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jax Beach.
The Indianapolis Colts are signing 6-time Pro Bowl wide receiver Keenan Allen to a 1-year deal worth up to $8.32 million. LA Rams head coach Sean McVay said yesterday that wide receiver Puka Nacua and defensive end Myles Garrett are expected to be able to return to practice for them next week. New Orleans Saints wide receiver Jordan Tyson, who picked up a hamstring injury last Thursday in the joint practice between the Saints and Jags could miss up to the next 2 months, which could push into, they're saying, week 5, 6, potentially in the regular season for him. Baltimore had corners Marlon Humphrey and Nate Wiggins return to practice for them yesterday. Miami has activated rookie wide receiver Chris Bell, who tore his ACL while with Louisville last year, back off of their non-football injury list. The New York Giants hosted running back Najee Harris for a visit yesterday. Atlanta is signing edge Darius Smith after a workout for them on Monday. He had announced a retirement. All those retirements are getting more and more fake across the entire league. It feels like. In Washington is signing running back Craig Reynolds. Dallas has signed Von Miller to a 1-year, $5.5 million deal that could be worth up to $7.5 million. Miller would move to 6th on the all-time sack list with 5 sacks this season. He had 9 sacks last year for Washington and 6 in 2024. So he's certainly still the caliber of player that kind of thing could be in the cards for Von Miller, who, every now and then there's not a bunch of them in the league at any given time. But there's a handful of guys in the league that's like, yeah, first ballot, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a handful of those guys that are just around, and Vaughn is on that list.
For as long as he kind of stayed around in the open market, do you think there should have been a call made by Jacksonville?
Sure, and there's no telling whether or not they did or didn't, right? Like him signing with Dallas doesn't mean Jacksonville didn't try. It doesn't mean they did either, and
Right.
Would I be okay with them reaching out to a guy like Von Miller? Sure. I don't dislike, those 2 young guys on the depth chart for the Jaguars, and I thought they played pretty well on Saturday, but they're not Von Miller. Like, those kind of guys just aren't available all that often, so sure. Should they have been in on that? If they could have been in on that, yeah. Didn't happen. He's going to Dallas. So we'll see what happens with him.
Do you feel that Jacksonville should have made a move for somebody? I mean, like when we hear like guys like Jadeveon Clowney going to Houston, Von Miller now going to Dallas, maybe there are some other guys out there that I'm not thinking about off the top of my head right now to where you're saying, you know what? Maybe if we would have thought about getting a veteran third edge, a veteran linebacker, or just somebody there that we can feel more at ease about. I understand Jacksonville is much more of an organization now, at least the brain trust is that we want to develop internally. But, I mean, if you have an opportunity to get better and get a guy such as Von Miller or Jadeveon Clowney, I understand we were kind of being circled around with, Bobby Wagner and individuals like that. I mean, maybe you go for it there. I mean, given the circumstances of maybe where you think you are in terms of a window.
Maybe. Like, I don't have an issue with them talking to or bringing in any of those guys if they had gone that direction. I'm not all that upset that they didn't, right? When everything is said and done, does that mean that I feel very confident in the depth chart behind Josh and Trayvon? No. Like, don't take any of that as an expression of, oh, they're set. Why would they talk to any of these guys? Like, that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm more in the, I don't know that they didn't try. And if they didn't get it done, deal with the reality of they didn't get it done, right? They didn't sign Jadeveon Clowney. So if you want to spend the whole season, whatever kind of season Jadeveon Clowney has, and go, man, they could have had Jadeveon Clowney. Well, you don't know that, one. So you shouldn't probably assume that they could have. All you know is that Houston signed him, right? Well, they could have had Von Miller. It's like, well, no. Like, he was available. That doesn't mean he was coming here necessarily, just because he was available. Would I be okay with them upgrading that third? I can remember how excited we all got right after the draft ended last year, and we were like, Emmanuel Ogba, now we're doing something.
Now we're cooking.
At the third edge, right? Like, it's been so long. Like, how many years do we have to ask for them to do something like this? And then they do it, and a month in, we're all going,
why did you get him?
Let the young guys play.
Right.
Like, that's how we all felt. So it doesn't have to be what you think it is. At some point, both those guys are going to hit walls. That doesn't mean that I think they're going to happen this year necessarily. And I would have been okay with either one of them winding up here in Jacksonville. They didn't. So
has BJ Green flashed to you at all? I mean,
yeah.
It seems like he's having a strong camp.
Green and Strigo.
Yeah.
I think they both flashed. And I thought Wesley Williams flashed for the first time.
Had some nice pressures.
For me, that, again, with who he's playing, like, the grains of salt cannot be small enough, right? To talk about a grain of salt for that kind of thing. But we know he's going to be on the 53. Like, that was more my takeaway from what happened on Saturday against the Saints. Nobody who I knew was going to be on the 53 disappointed me, right, on Saturday against the Saints. A bunch of guys that are going to be on the 53 didn't even play. And the guys that were out there that I know are going to be part of the roster this year, I watched them play and went, oh, they're fine. Right? Like, that's kind of how I came out. And a bunch of guys that I'm like, they got no chance to play here, were playing really bad. And I was like, c'est la vie, right? Like, that's kind of how I dealt with it. It's like, I wish this guy no ill luck, but he's not going to be, his future is not here.
Right.
Like that kind of thing. And I respect the heck out of the guys that are fighting for an NFL career, right? And you get those opportunities. They're few and far between. I hope they all take advantage of them. I watched a bunch of guys that didn't on Saturday, wearing Jaguars uniforms. And none of the guys that disappointed me was I like, oh, but I was expecting. It's like, oh, yeah, okay. Right? Like, that's more how I reacted to it. I think if they're going to play the starters a little bit this week, it's going to be obviously a whole lot more of the guys that we expect to be on the 53 being allowed to try to make an impact, right, for them this week on the football field. Not for long, but for whatever limited window they want to keep those guys out there. So we'll get a bit of a better look. And I do think, given the issues on the offensive line, if Trevor Lawrence ever takes a 5-step drop, I might scream. Like, that's the way that I feel about things right now. It's like, screen it up, short passes, dump it off, get it out, hit the back foot, get it out, quick, quick, quick. And I can already hear the complaints on Monday. It's like they didn't try to push the ball downfield. You're like, you're right. That's a shame. Like that's going to be the way that I react to it when everything is said and done. We'll put a wrap on this edition of Jaguars Today. When we return, say hello to XL Prime Time as well. You're listening to this Tuesday edition of Jaguars Today on 1010 XL.
Hey, everybody, Mike Dempsey here for DraftKings, and boy, do they have a deal for you. On September 2nd, DraftKings Game Day arrives with massive deals, exclusive deals, and an all-day celebration for sports fans. The DraftKings Sports app is now live in every state, including right here in Florida. DraftKings Game Day is the kickoff of a new season, a new era, in fact. Remember the date. September 2nd, new DraftKings customers sign up using code 1010XL, spend $5 and get $150 in new rewards within 14 days. That's code 1010XL in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours. Event trading offered by DraftKings Predictions, a CFTC registered introducing broker. Trading involves risk of loss. Market availability varies. Eligibility restrictions apply. $50 every 7 days via click to claim, issued in non-withdrawable predictions dollars that expire in 1 year. Ends August 23rd. Terms DKNG.co/predictions promo nationwide based on sportsbook predictions and free-to-play sports contest availability. Varies by state.
Jaguars Today for the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios. Streaming live from the XL Digital Studios. Polished by Harbor Dental Care, the locally owned smile restoration experts.
If you've been dealing with backups, strange smells, or soggy spots in the yard, your septic system is trying to tell you something. This month, save $500 on a new septic system installation from DuckDuckRooter. As the only master septic contractor in Northeast Florida, we'll handle everything, from the required permits and inspections to the complete installation. Stop hoping. Start fresh. When you're stuck, call the Duck. 904-862-6769 or DuckDuckRooter.com. Financing is available.
Hey Jaguars fans, here's your chance to be face-to-face with the team as they take the field on game day. Jump in the shadows and experience the Jaguars like never before. Enter today at everbank.com/shadows for your chance to be part of the action. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to legal residents of the 50 United States and D.C., 18 and older. Entry periods for the 2026 Everbank Shadows Experience promotion are from 8/17/26 to 12/20/26. For official rules and complete details, visit everbank.com/shadows. Sponsor and administrator, Everbank, N.A. Member FDIC.
Looking for an engagement ring that doesn't look like everyone else's?
Not every woman wants a cookie cutter ring that you find in every jewelry store around town.
Meet Ben Lupo, second-generation owner at Beard's Diamonds, who says a lot of couples come in today looking for something different, even a custom design ring. They come in with pictures or drawings, or sometimes they combine things they like from several rings into a one-of-a-kind creation.
We can really kind of put all of those notes into one piece and show her her creation. If she likes it, we move forward. If not, we can change it however many times to make sure that we get it correct for her.
And here's the best part. Custom design rings at Beard's usually don't cost any extra.
You really have that ability to fully customize your ring without spending a ton of dollars as opposed to just buying something right out of the case.
So don't settle for a chain store cookie cutter ring. Come to Beard's for all the top designer rings, and where you can also create that one-of-a-kind treasure.
You get the ability to customize your ring and put your stamp on it however you want.
Beard's Diamonds in the St. John's Town Center. Online at beardsdiamonds.com.
Whether you're wearing teal and black or orange and blue, there's one thing we can all agree on this football season. Jets Pizza. Fresh dough made daily. Wall-to-wall cheese and crispy edges make every bite a game day favorite. Whether it's football Saturday or football Sunday, feed the family, the crew, or the whole team with Jets Pizza. Order online or call any of the 4 Jacksonville area Jets Pizza locations today.
Today, we tip our wrench to Rock Auto customer Noah.
My first car was a 2001 Dodge Neon with a blue wing, and it happened to match my high school sweetheart, who's now my wife, her black 2005. So my uncle has been in the industry for well over 25 years. He recommended Rock Auto immediately to buy my first set of brakes. I would recommend Rock Auto just because it's simple, it's easy to find the parts you're looking for, it's all at a good price.
All the parts your car will ever need, Rock Auto.
I've worked with a lot of advertisers over the years, and you learn pretty quickly which ones are selling something and which ones actually care what happens after the sale. I'm Greg Gajewski, and when Awaken 180 first came to 1010XL, it started with Mike Dempsey, then Matt Hayes. From that first call, they wanted to understand our audience, not just buy a schedule. I talked with Paige, learned how the program worked, and at one point said, we got a guy, hacker, that could really use this. And her answer was immediate, let's help him. That's their entire mission. That's always been their answer. No revolving door, no corporate runaround. Paige never franchised Awaken 180 because she wants every coach, client, and endorser to feel supported. I saw that as a business partner, and then I experienced it myself. I went on the program and lost 50 pounds. That's why I endorse Awaken 180, not just because they're a 1010XL client, but because they care about people, and you feel it every day. Awaken180weightloss.com. Awaken180weightloss.com.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farah doesn't flinch. Everything you need to know about the Jaguars today on 1010XL.
Just a few more minutes here on the show this morning. Our question of the day asking about what's going on with Patrick Mekari and what is your reaction to the news of him needing some kind of back surgery. An angle on this that we haven't talked about much yet this morning, RJ, but it is kind of been in the back of my mind when trying to figure out how to react to any of this. We have offensive linemen across the league. Like Ozzie is returning for Chicago. He tore his patellar tendon, right? In a playoff game last year. He's been activated yesterday for the Chicago Bears. So there are kind of injuries across the league that used to be end of career kind of stuff. Like the ACL used to be, hopefully we'll see you in 3 years. Like that's the way that used to work. It's not that long ago. That's how that worked. The Achilles then became that kind of thing. Patellar was that kind of thing until very recently, right? Like it's just, I don't know if it's the rehab that guys are doing compared to the way that they used to do it. I don't know. I'm not a scientist or a surgeon. I don't know the answer to any of this kind of stuff, right? But it's obvious that these kind of things have gotten better. I do get nervous about offensive linemen dealing with back stuff, right? It just adds an extra layer of, to what I'm seeing with these kind of guys. And I know that Mekari was dealing with something going on with his back all through training camp last year, into the season, and kind of had him on and off the field at times for the football team. Now going into year 2 of his contract here in Jacksonville, surgery. I don't know why it took this long for the decision for surgery to happen to be made, that kind of thing. But it's eye-opening, from that kind of perspective. I would like to be comfortable with the other options. Like, I wish that we had seen enough from some of the other options on the offensive line to be like, oh, well, if Mekari's not available, we'll be fine. Right? Like, I wish that I was completely settled in that kind of mindset, but I just haven't been based on anything we've heard. I'm getting a little bit closer to that with a guy like Pregnon, but it's like, all right, 3 days of practice and 1 preseason game, and I'm supposed to, be locked in on that? No. Don't love the things that you hear about Milam to this point, and it's not a bunch of people going, well, he's terrible. Like, that's not the kind of stuff that you're hearing about. It's just like, he's not quite stepping into what we thought.
Whatever we're looking for, we're not seeing.
Yeah, it's not quite what we think it could be, like that kind of thing. So it all makes me a little bit nervous. Like, I wish that we were at a point with one of the young guys on the offensive line that if Mekari were, God forbid, just to say, you know what, it's done. Right? Like, if it was that kind of thing for him, that I'd be like, oh, well.
Right.
But I don't feel that way about it necessarily at this point. So we'll continue to try to put the pieces back together. I don't need the right guard to be Humpty Dumpty, right? Like, that's just not the situation that I want to be in here of less than a month away from the regular season getting started. We'll continue to kick that around, I promise you. That is not a conversation that is done yet for the Jaguars and what's going on with the offensive line. The Carolina Panthers in town tomorrow. We'll see who the 5 are. You better believe we're writing down the names of who the 5 are on the offensive line when that practice starts tomorrow. Until we get to that, though, let's first say hello to XL Primetime.
Now, the 2-minute drill is driven by nobody but Nimnicht. Nimnicht Chevrolet on Cassett Avenue and Nimnicht Buick GMC on Phillips Highway.
All right. Mr. Hayes, how are you this
First
morning?
off, we all knew he was hurt. We all knew he wasn't going to play. I don't, like, this is my whole thing with them. And I get it. They want to hide the injuries as much as you want. But when it's blatantly obvious, just say he's struggling right now. He's probably not going to participate in camp. Hopefully we can get him back. We don't know what's going on right now, but instead you just have him go out there with helmets on, with a helmet on and pads on. He gingerly walks around the field. There's no doubt he wasn't going to play.
Right.
It's odd to me, but
it's
whatever.
funny.
That's just the NFL in a nutshell, right there.
Right as we were coming in for the show yesterday, the Breece Hall thing happened. Right, where he went down in practice untouched and everyone's speculating on what it might be. At that point in time, then you hear it's a groin injury. Like right as we were about to start the show, you hear that it's something with a groin injury, didn't know serious, minor, that kind of thing. And it does, here in Jacksonville, a running back dealing with a groin injury rings a little bit different considering what we saw happen to Fred Taylor, right? And the guys that were in the locker room every week, like going up to Fred because Tom kept listing him as questionable, right? Like he kept listing him as questionable, like 4 weeks of him being questionable on the first injury report. And finally, some reporter said, so Fred, are you going to be able to play this week? And Fred finally just let it. He's like, the groin tore off the bone.
Oh,
He's like, no, I'm not playing this week. Like that kind of thing was going on. And then we were all like, oh. So TC is playing the game a little bit here with some of this stuff. That kind of thing goes on, and I can understand it. But again, like we've all been out there at practice. We've seen what Mekari isn't doing to this point. I think the questions about why did it take this long to make the decision on whether or not he needed or didn't need the surgery is a little bit weird. But I'm not a doctor. Again, I don't know, if they handle it the right. I do not know, but it does feel like he's going to be out for some period of time into the regular season. We don't even know what exactly that's going to look like and how badly do they need him. I don't think we know the answer to that either.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. To me, it's the whole shrouding of the injury type. Who cares? He's just a guy anyway. That's number one, all right? What do they think they're hiding by not saying he's hurt or he's going to be out? Like, what they're hiding, that they're going to have to play a backup who's probably going to be just as good or better than he is. I don't even understand the whole. It's weird. It's strange, but that's the way they run over there, and that's fine. It's the way they work.
What do you got coming up today on?
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a lot Jags. We'll get in some college football. We've got Gerald Ingram, our coach, coming in. He's going to break down a lot of Jags news and info as well. So we'll get into a lot of that.
All right. We'll be listening.
Thanks, Tony.
Next couple hours here with the XL Primetime. That'll do it for us here on this Tuesday edition of Jaguars Today. Mike Dempsey back with us tomorrow after a day like we always talk about guys when they're not here or on assignment. Today, Mike Dempsey was actually on assignment over there with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So we'll hear what he had to say. Had the opportunity. I know he's sitting down with Liam Cohen and a bunch of the players today after practice. So we'll get him back with us tomorrow. For RJ Saunders, for Hayes Carline, for an on assignment, Mike Dempsey, I'm Tony Smith. XL Primetime coming up next on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Later.